Good evening, everybody. I'm Vice Mayor James Chambers. Mayor Ross is out this evening. I want to remind everybody to please silence your electronic devices. And if you would rise for the invocation from Rabbi Rifkin from the Young Israeli Church, Synagogue of Tampa, and then followed by the pledge.
Thank you. So tomorrow night we will be sitting down to our seders, and we traditionally have the matzah, broken bread, and that is to realize that lots of us struggle, especially with rising inflation. So we ask Almighty God, Honorable City Council, to let us all join together and pray for those who are in need and have the broken matzah, the broken simple bread, and not enough proper rising bread, and celebrate freedom as Passover is from all tyranny and peace, messianic era in the world. May it happen speedily in our days. Amen.
Join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, tonight's less than fun fact. It's about our borders of Temple Terrace. On May 28th of 1925, when Temple Terrace was incorporated, the boundaries were a lot larger than they are today. The western boundary was a quarter mile to the west of 56th Street, which is approximately where 52nd Street is now. The eastern boundary went all the way to Harney Road, which didn't exist then, but around where Harney was. The southern boundary was the Hillsborough River, and the northern boundary was all the way north of the river, which is north of where USF property is, so it went quite a bit further north. Then in 1946, there was an economic downturn, and our boundaries shrunk. The western border was 56th Street. The eastern border was the river. The southern boundary was just south of River Hills Drive, which south of there to the river was not in our city anymore. And the north boundary was Whiteway Drive. That went on until 1956, when the lower part of the city to the river was annexed in. Then in 1961, the boundaries were changed again, which remained stable for about 20 years. 52nd Street to the west, the river to the east and to the south, and Fowler Avenue to the north, and that was 4 square miles. And somewhere, which used to be the old seal behind us many years ago, that was the picture that was on city vehicles for a long time. And now today, our western and southern boundaries remain the same, but with annexation, the northern and eastern boundaries have moved out, and our city is about 6 square miles today. So that's a little brief history of our boundaries of Temple Terrace. Okay, first item, recognitions and proclamations. Proclamation, Water Conservation Month. Public Utilities Director Troy Tinch, please come up. Good evening.
Good evening.
Proclamation. Whereas the state of Florida Water Management Districts and the city of Temple Terrace are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation. And whereas the city of Temple Terrace and the state of Florida have designated April, typically a month when water demands are most acute, Florida Water Conservation Month, to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's pressure water resource. And whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature and every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference conserving water and promoting a healthy economy and community. And whereas the city of Temple Terrace is calling upon each citizen and business to help protect our precious resources by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to save water. For this, the 25th year of Water Conservation Month, there will be a special focus on fixing leaks and all forms of water loss. Now, on behalf of Mayor Ross, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as Vice Mayor of the City of Temple Terrace, I do proclaim April 2023 as Water Conservation Month.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to say something, please?
I would actually like to say just a few short things. I just want to echo the importance of water conservation as it relates to not only the city, but the state. As you know, Florida has been experiencing an uptick in growth. We are now the fastest growing state in the union, a designation we have not held for 66 years. So I think we all need to do our part to ensure there's water for future Floridians. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, stay there for the photo op. Do we have anybody for the photo op? Okay.
I'm great. I can only imagine how
I can't do much with your face.
Put a shark filter on it.
Beautiful.
Okay, next on the agenda, presentations, there are none. Board appointments, none. Consideration of minutes from the previous meeting. Approval of the March 21, 2023 council meeting minutes.
Move to approve the minutes?
Second.
Okay, move to approve, second. Any discussion, changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda. A 3-minute time limit will be imposed on all comments from the public. We ask that the speakers come to the podium, state their name and city of residence. During public comment on items not on the agenda, the city manager and directors in attendance do make note of these items. Assure residents that all of your comments are taken seriously and will be acted on. First, I have Jan Tummelson.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Council. Okay, I was not able to be at the March 21st meeting at Woodmont. I have received the minutes from Cheryl, the city clerk, and I appreciate it. Okay, it was not televised, and it's not going to be broadcasted at a later date. I would like a PowerPoint presentation regarding the presentation of the topics that were discussed and recommended. There were a lot of topics that were discussed and various things were included. Maybe this meeting at a later date or next year when we're going to do this could be held in the evening if possible, so more people would attend. The other thing I have is an update on the solid waste bills in the House and the Senate. Based on what House Bill 975, Senate Bill 798. As of this time, House Bill 975 has been stalled in committees, so it's not moving forward. The Senate Bill 978 was introduced in March 7th, but it has not moved, and there was nothing that was scheduled. So I just want to let you update. We do not need, and I hope that y'all are pushing the League of Cities and also your people in the legislature to not support this, because we do not need people come in and get our commercial solid waste, because it would be a nightmare for not only the city but also code enforcement. So please reach out again and do not support these two bills. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have, yes.
If I could, I'd like to address the first point because I can give a quick answer. I might resolve that for Mrs. Tumbleson. So the council priority setting session, there is actually going to be a report on the next city council agenda, they'll have all the priorities listed and everything that was discussed that evening. So that'll be on the council for the April 18th meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, next I have Mr. Jerry Barnett.
Good evening, council. I'm Jerry Barnett. I'm a resident of Simple Terrace. I live in the Pleasant Terrace section of our city.
Okay, before you start, members of the audience have donated some of their time to you, so you have 5 minutes, not 3.
I won't need that long.
Okay,
I'm asking you to consider the access to the Pleasant Terrace part of our city. Currently, of the 4 sides of our rather square area, 2 sides of that are 100% non-entrance into Pleasant Terrace. 1 side of that is 50% non-entrance into Pleasant Terrace. The only 100% access is off of 56th Street. So I'm talking about the areas at Chick-fil-A, the car wash, near Starbucks and the chicken place there on Fowler. There's 1 entrance off of Fletcher that is exit only. This causes the residents of that area to drive 2 to 3 miles, depending on where they're trying to access our neighborhood. So I'm asking you to look at that with the possibility of maybe opening an entrance off of Fowler. I don't believe anything off of 50th Street could be open without a pretty vast cost to the city. Well, all of those entrances are pretty much blocked off. That's all I have. Thank you.
thank you. Is there anybody else? Is there anybody else from the audience? Yes.
I also live in Pleasant Terrace, and I happen to be by Divine Providence. So one of the entrances on 50th Street was turned into a dog park. Recently, I think Mayor lives also in our neighborhood. And there was, I saw somewhere there was a new park, Linwood Park. Did Temple Terrace just make a park? But I just want to bring up, it would be great if there was a park for kids. There was discussion that's the 122nd entrance became the dog park, and there's a lot of children's in Pleasant Terrace. We would enjoy the 127th becoming a children's park, and that entrance. That's one idea I want to mention. If anyone can look into that, that would be an amazing thing. I don't know if there's money or time or effort to make that park. And another thing is we struggle with garbage. We used to, before you started the brown garbage cans, you were able to put as much as you want garbage, and now we're limited to 2 garbage cans. So it's really a struggle. On one hand, they tell us we're commercial. I wanted to do my yearly pickup today, and they said it's not for free. I have to pay for it. I'm commercial. On the other hand, they don't want to give me more than 2 garbage cans because I'm residential. So it's a little contradictory. So I don't know if we could figure it out. We're really struggling with 2 garbage cans. And that's a whole other story. We purchased the property thinking it was RMF residential. Tell me when my 3 minutes are up. Oh, I see it here. We purchased the property in 2009 with due diligence. We came into the city. They said it's RMF, residential multifamily, permitted use, church or synagogue. As you mentioned earlier, this is 52nd Street, the border of Temple Terrace. And then suddenly in 2015, 6 years after we bought it, they made I guess Charles, the then building director, or he wasn't city manager yet, made a correction on the file to single-family residential. Real weird stories happened and still has not been resolved. Here we are, 2023, and I don't know if we could look into it, but we're really struggling. We have a lot of garbage, and we don't know how to get rid of it. The Tampa Electric gave us 1 bill for the house and 1 bill for the synagogue building. So we have 2 separate electric bills, but we can't seem to get 2 garbage bills, 2 cans for the house and 2 cans for the synagogue even. So I don't know if there's anything you guys could do about this. Would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Someone will reach out to you. Yes. Jan, you've had your 3 minutes.
Thank you. But it's on a different topic.
Okay,
Okay.
loud this time.
All right. Jan Tumbleson, a resident from the city of Temple Terrace. Okay. I was around years ago when They blocked off that area where they did not want cut-through traffic. And that was the main reason why there's no things from Fowler Avenue. Remember that? Okay, does anybody remember that? The Homeowners Association came in here and really, Cheryl Thomasino was the president of that organization at that time. So we need to look at also the backup and what happened during that time to make sure that all the residents want to open it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, moving on. Oh, yes.
Sorry, we didn't put it on the.
Okay, come on up. State your name and city of residence, please.
Hi, so my name is Loren Richards, and I'm a member of Temple Terrace. We live right here at the Waverly Terrace Apartments, or Nightmare. So the reason why we're here is we've actually been encouraged by law enforcement to come here and speak to you guys because these apartments, which we're in the process of trying to get out of, is becoming just an utter nuisance to the community, and we're now associated with this because we live here. For example, we have faulty fire alarm systems, so we had 3 false alarms go off over this in a 24-hour period this past weekend. So again, this is just a total waste of resources. This is the 5th or 6th faulty alarm that's went off since I've lived there in September. So this is continual resources. On Friday evening, we had law enforcement, Temple Terrace Police Department at our residence 4 different times for people breaking into the community, using the amenities. We've been screaming from the rooftops to the property managers. I've reached out to Richmond Signature Property Corporate. I've left 3 voicemails. I've sent 4 emails, and I just can't seem to get anywhere. But it's not safe. I have children, and you know we're paying an extensive amount to live in this community, and it's just become a mess. And so I was encouraged by law enforcement to come here, speak to you guys on the fact that we're just constantly using resources that really the property should be managing. And so we've asked the police department, is there any kind of fines that you can assign to the property for not doing their due diligence to keep the people out, to where we're not having to not only police the place, but keep calling and bringing in these resources, never mind the faulty alarm systems that keep evacuating and sending all the fire department and EMS for no apparent reason other than it was just a faulty alarm. But they know this because it continues to happen and happen 3 times. And I've actually pulled the fire department reports from this weekend today. I already got a copy of those, and the first do state that they were unintentional alarms that went off. On Saturday, it stated that there was somebody smoking in a breezeway, which might have tripped that alarm. But when I spoke to fire, when they were there, management was not on scene, nor did they ever come on scene on the 2nd and 3rd alarm. They were there during the 1st. That was basically it. So we're just begging for somebody to help us with something because we're just at a wall, and I don't know what else to do except I was encouraged by law enforcement to come here, speak to you guys so that you'd be aware of it. And if there is anything you can do by imposing fines to the property, something to get their attention to get this under control. So that is it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you please fill out a form in the back, and you can hand it to police? What? Okay, well, I was going to say to save time, just leave it back in the back, but bring it up to Cheryl.
Okay.
And put your phone number on it. I know someone in our city will reach out to you shortly.
Wonderful. Thank you guys very much for having us. I appreciate it.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, communications and petitions, none. Consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, public hearing, ordinances, and resolutions. A, it's a resolution approving a task work order for $100,487.20 to Aziz Construction Company, Inc., for miscellaneous concrete flat work within the city's CDBG eligible communities. City Engineer Brian McCarthy.
Good
You got the
evening,
floor.
Honorable Vice Mayor and City Council. I'm Brian McCarthy, City Engineer. Today I'm here seeking approval for a task work order to Aziz Construction Company for miscellaneous concrete flat work within the city's Community Development Block Grant area, specifically along Whiteway Avenue. So as you can see on the screen, we have Whiteway Drive, Whiteway Drive, not Avenue. In red, you can see the existing sidewalk that we evaluated for replacement. This is the area between the city limits to the west and to 56th Street to the east. Task work order includes approximately 550 linear feet of sidewalk to be replaced, along with curb and gutter, driveway aprons, a gravity wall, handrails, and other incidentals. I did want to emphasize one area, which is in the northeast corner of Whiteway and North 53rd. It's the Whiteway Terrace Villas. So in this Google snapshot, you can see the sidewalk. Essentially, we're proposing a gravity wall and handrail between the sidewalk and the tree. It's just the cross slope doesn't meet ADA criteria, so we're looking to try to flatten that out a little bit more. So that's why you'll, again, in the future, when we construct this project, you'll see probably about a 1 to 2 feet high gravity wall with a handrail going between the sidewalk and the tree. That's just kind of lining that back to kind of just hold back that earth so we can flatten down that sidewalk. This work is identified in the First Amendment of the agreement for the program year 21-22 with Hillsborough County for federal funding. That said, staff recommends City Council approve the expenditure of $100,487.20 to Aziz Construction Company for miscellaneous flat work concrete. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, first, are there any questions from members of the public? Seeing none, City Council, are there any questions of
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy? You've got it.
I don't know if my question, well, I guess it's for you. It's about the sidewalks and the material for the sidewalks. So I guess we have a lot of trees in the city, and this is consistent across our sidewalks, that the tree roots push the sidewalks up, and we have that maintenance project where we grind the edges down to try to take care of that. But would this be an application that we could use, like the poured in place rubber mulch, that would not break the way concrete does? Or is there some sort of paving material that would be maybe a better use than plain concrete?
So that is an option. It's not something that we've evaluated here within the city, mainly because of the cost.
So if I get that that material might be more expensive, but how does that compare to us going back after the fact and having our maintenance program where we're grinding edges down, or maybe even repouring some squares so that they're not as broken because of the tree roots, or also or adding the small wall and the handrails and such? Like, if we compare the total cost of what we may need to do in this area, does a different pavement option still seem cost prohibitive?
So with the retaining wall, I think that's a requirement regardless of which type of material we were to go with, because we're trying to hold back that extra earth to maintain that flatness. It certainly is something we can evaluate for a future project. With the CDBG funding that we're requesting to spend, we have until the end of June to spend that dollars. So we can certainly look at that for another city project. I know the city of Lakeland has started using that type of flexible material. But again, because of the cost, it wasn't really something that I was looking too much into.
Well, I just want to make sure when we're comparing cost,
Sure,
that we're looking at the total cost and comparing apples to apples, because there is an expense in going around the city and evaluating the sidewalks and either replacing sections or grinding down the edges. So that does have a cost. So I hope that when we're looking at sidewalk projects and the material that we're going to use, that we're including all aspects of the cost. That's it.
Councilmember Schiffler?
Yeah, I just had a minor question. How much of the handrails going to be there?
How much is in terms of like linear foot?
Linear foot. I couldn't, and the reason I'm saying is I couldn't find anything in the cost estimate as to how much it is costing it. That stuff's expensive.
It is because of the aluminum as well. It's,
Yeah. I couldn't find it
get you
in the
that
list.
information, but we
And that's just,
we
that's
pieced
just
it together with the retaining wall and the handrail
Yeah,
together.
that's just academic curiosity. Are we restricted because it's a CDGB grant, the type of sidewalk we can put in there? Is there anything that restricts to a specific type of material?
Not that I know of.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, that's all I had.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, can I entertain a motion?
Move to approve resolution approving a task work order in the amount of $100,487.20 to Aziz Construction Company, Inc.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next is part 2 of the Brian McCarthy Show. Okay, item B, a resolution approving a task work order for $84,013.12 to American Construction Services, Inc. of Tampa for miscellaneous concrete flat work within the city's CDBG eligible communities.
Good evening again, Honorable Vice Mayor and City Council, Brian McCarthy, City Engineer. And today I'm here seeking approval for a task work order to American Construction Services of Tampa for miscellaneous flat work along North 53rd Street within the city's Community Development Block Grant area. Again, as you can see on the screen, this is the existing sidewalk that we evaluated along North 53rd from Fowler Avenue to the left all the way to White Way on the right. Within this task work order, we included approximately 720 linear feet of sidewalk and driveway aprons, as well as other incidentals for replacement. As mentioned earlier, this is also identified in the first agreement with the Hillsborough County to use federal funding under their program year 21-22. That said, staff recommends City Council approve the expenditure to American Construction Services for miscellaneous concrete flat work. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any questions from the public? Seeing none, City Council, any questions?
I just had a little one.
Go ahead.
City property, CDGB funds can be used on city property like that?
Sorry, within the city's Community Development Block Grant area.
So it's irrespective of the actual ownership. Doesn't matter that it's city property that we're going to be actually improving. Because it runs in front of Public Works and behind City Hall.
Because it's still within the public right-of-way.
Doesn't matter. Okay, all right, just curious. I would make sure we weren't stepping on our toes. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the resolution approving a task work order for the amount of $84,013.12 to the American Construction Services, Inc. for miscellaneous concrete flat work.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, council carryover business. Is there any carryover business? Seeing none. New business and board reports.
I mean, I guess it kind of overlaps, but I want to just make sure that the public knows now that we're moving to the Granicus system, that when they go online and pull up an agenda, it should have all of the backup material. So the public just needs to go to the city website like you normally would and go to the government agenda section, click on the agenda for the date that you are interested in, and your agenda should pull up with all of the background information that we see normally at a council meeting. So I just wanted to make sure people were aware.
Okay? Yes.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just wanted to clarify just one thing with Councilmember Fernandez. So on the agenda right now, what people are going to see are the resolutions, ordinances, cover reports. Backup documentation that's coming from third parties, for example, or sometimes we'll get contracts from people where they've signed the contract already. and that comes to us as a PDF, but that PDF is basically a photograph. And so that isn't accessible. So those documents right now, we're going to start an education campaign with our partners to let them know, like, please don't sign these documents. Give us those documents in original PDF format, and then we'll be able to put those on the web. So right now, for this agenda, just to clarify for the public, if you do pull it down, you won't have everything exactly that the council has today, but you'll have most of the material. Our goal is to eventually, over time, get to the point where everything else will be there because all our partners will know what we expect for the council process.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
I just have one, and it's a follow-up for Pleasant Terrace. And so this is really more for, I guess, informational purposes, but years and years ago, when those entrances were made either entrance or egress, it was because the public in that area was very concerned about people coming in, maybe coming out of Chick-fil-A and going through their neighborhood to access other streets. So the concern was people were speeding through the neighborhood, there was increased traffic through the neighborhood. So I would request that as we're looking at the request that was in front of City Council today, that we're looking at it in a holistic way that helps address some of those very real traffic concerns that probably would come back as entrances were opened up, but also balance the need for, I mean, I understand you don't want one way in and one way out, to, balance the neighborhood's need for them to be able to get in and out of their neighborhood. So that's the history of that, and it definitely was an issue for that area at that time. That's it for me.
Yeah, yes, it was, and I'm sure when staff looks at it, they'll look at all the back documents. And I don't know, does anybody know if the association there that was very strong before still exists?
I do not know.
I live in that neighborhood, and this is the first time today I ever heard that there was an association, and I've been there 5 years.
Okay, well, that's something you guys can research, so thank you. Anything else in new business or board reports? Yes, sir.
Hart is a little bit of a shambles right now. It really can't talk about it too much because there's potential litigation coming down the line. But we do have a new interim CEO. His name is Scott Drainfield. He pretty much runs heavy maintenance and operations for the facility. So he knows where the bodies are buried. He knows where to go look for problems, and he knows how to navigate through it. So hopefully he'll. I think he's a good guy, and I was in favor of him assuming the reins as interim CEO, and hopefully will stabilize the operation and continue to provide the bus service that so many people in Hillsborough County rely upon. Do you have any update on the legislation regarding the dissolution of Hart? I didn't get a chance to look it up today. I didn't follow it.
I haven't heard anything about it lately.
Okay. I don't have any update on that, unfortunately. I apologize. But that's all I had. Just give a brief update where Hart is moving towards.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Abel, anything? Okay. All right, city manager's report, Mr. Baea. Wow. Okay. City attorney's part of report, Ms. Shoshone.
I have nothing.
Wow. Okay.
Vice Mayor, you set a record, sir.
Well, we're not done. Does anybody out there have anything? Don't say it. Okay. Okay, if there's nothing else, seeing nothing, meeting's adjourned. Thank you for coming tonight.
Very good job, Mr. Vice Mayor. Very good job.